Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be combining my two favorite hobbies, vinyl records with board games, and see how it goes. We'll see you on the flip side. Hello everyone, Daryl the Northern Vinyl Guy back at you with another video, and I'm going to try to do something a little bit different today in combining a couple of things that I do enjoy. I've mentioned this in a few previous videos that I do collect board games. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of my board game collection in these following photos. So I hope you all enjoyed those photos. It is quite an extensive collection. In fact, to the point where it's a little excessive in my eyes, but I mean, it is something that I enjoy doing. So what I'm going to do in today's video is show you some of my music-themed board games that I have, and suggest or recommend others that I don't have, including one that is by a famous musician from the Runaways. So stay tuned and we will check out some of these board games. So the first game that I'm going to show is, as my channel is specifically related to music, and most specifically vinyl music or vinyl records, I'm going to show you a board game that I have, and I have most of the expansions for this game, but it's actually a board game by, I believe his name is Eric Alvarado, and the game is actually called Vinyl. So the objective of Vinyl is to go record store collecting, basically crate digging, and to try to have the best record collection, the most valuable record collection at the end of the game. Now, as you can see, this is the board for the game. And basically what you do as part of this game is you can, go to the magazine rack if you want, and you can collect points for the Masters of Metal expansion. You can get like ticket stubs and things like that. But the heart and heavy part of this game is the record bin right here. And what I've done is I've kind of just set it up with various record album covers that came with the game. Now, as part of this game, it was actually created as a Kickstarter, and some of the backers of the game participated in creating these record cards. Okay, so these record cards are actually, they're not real bands, but created by people who purchased the game. There's actually a sale bin that later on in the game, if you want to get some sales, you can do that. And further up here, back in the day, you could even put some of your materials on layaway at the front counter. So basically, that's kind of an overview of what the board and the game looks like. If we look at the other side of the board or the other side of the card, you can see that each card has its own different decades and have some requirements that are necessary to get points and score. So that's a 70s one there as well. If we look at this one here, you're looking at, that's a 70s one too. This one is like Flower Power 1960s style, and so on and so forth. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to show you is that the game did come with a couple of other components. So, on 45s, you got that center piece that helps fit it so that it can play on your turntable. That is the first player marker for the game. The game also came with a vinyl record crate that you can put components in. And then these pieces here, I think the company that made the game did a really good job in incorporating like the vinyl record theme to the game. So if this is something that interests you, do check out Vinyl by Eric Alvarado. All right, so that pretty much sums up the game of Vinyl. Like I said, you are basically crate diving, trying to get some values and try to have the most valuable vinyl collection that you can. Before I move on to the next game, though, what I wanted to do is just kind of show you that there are other expansions that kind of go with the game to make it more fun, puts on some different spins, but you must have the regular game in order to do this. So there's actually the totally awesome 80s expansion. All right, I did mention, and it was on the board, there is the Masters of Metal expansion that comes with it. I haven't opened that one yet. And of course, it plays on some spins of some actual real bands like Iron Forge, instead of Iron Maiden. Judean, I can't read what that says, but it's a spin-off of Judas Priest, and Blacksmith instead of Black Sabbath. So, they've just done some little spins on other bands that are in real life. There is also the Top Shelf expansion for more valuable records. Of course, records that are on the top racks and stuff like that are often worth more in real stores. And then we have the British Invasion expansion, which came with the game. And then a couple of other big box expansions include the Big Band expansion, as well as the 1960s Jukebox expansion. So there you go. That is Vinyl, the board game. All right, up next is a game. It's more of a card game than anything, but it is called the Offensive Band Name Generator game, and it was created on the Game Crafter website. I can leave a link below on how to get to that website, but basically those are more independent games that people have created and designed on their own. So if you've ever played the game, Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, games like that, then this particular game, like I said, Offensive Band Name Generator, may be more up your alley. Now, there are differing levels of the types of questions and stuff that you may have to create in this game. So what's going to happen in this game is there's going to be some cards that are either, you're going to be dealt cards, they're going to be in your hand, and on these cards is going to be a list of words. So on this card, you might have Merkley, you might have Stronger, you might have, it's offensive, so slave or slavery. And then, of course, on the back side, you might have something like 100 foot, or you might have colon, things like that. Just words that may or may not be offensive. Okay, so, there's a whole stack of cards that come with this game. Pretty much the entirety of that box. You got band, you got bands, you got gynecologist, you got tainted, and just different words that meet the bill, that fit the bill. And then you, as a group of people, can choose the type of category that you might want. So if you want just the standard rating, you might go with that. If you want PG, you might go with that, or G, or whatever it is. And so what you're going to do is you basically create band names that meet the bill. Okay, so on this PG rated, question number 1 says to create an alt rock band name. And so you just put together your cards, the cards that you have, and you try to create either the most absurd, obnoxious, foul, whatever it might be, game or a band name, and you just put them together. All right. On the G side, you might come up with a new age band or the least offensive band name, etc., etc. Now, as you go up in intensity, there is an R-rated name, so you might create, say, a death metal band, or you might create a sacrilegious or sexist name, a science fiction or fantasy, right? Some of these I cannot really state out loud because some of them are offensive, and I don't want to get banned here on YouTube. But ultimately, that is what you do in order to play the Offensive Band Name Generator game. Now, as in the previous game that I showed, there is an expansion that you can use for this game, and it is called the Offensive Album Cover expansion. And so it plays similarly to the regular game. Um, there's a card with, expansion number 1 or number 2, so you can create a hilarious band name using the album covers, the worst band name ever created, world music or punk fusion band. There's other things like science, food, or animal names, etc., etc. And then as you get further, this band has been banned in 23 countries, etc., etc. So you can use these cards here. So there's a stack of these, and they are two-sided. Some of them I cannot show you, but basically what you do for the expansion is you choose which side of the card you want to use to demonstrate the band cover that would best go along with the category of the question. And so, there's always going to be one person who is responsible for voting, and basically they vote on who they think is the funniest or most offensive, etc., etc. In order to win the game, the person who collects the most votes after so many rounds is the winner. All right, so one final game that I would like to go over that I do have in my collection that is music themed related is a game that is called On Tour. Now, this game also has an expansion. It's the European expansion. But what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you both the America map as well as the Europe map to kind of show you how the game works. So basically, you are an aspiring band and you are going on a 100-day tour of the United States or of Europe. And basically, according to the rulebook, which is actually quite well done, and it's only a couple of pages in length, but ultimately, you are living the dream. You are in a band and about to go on tour. It's your job to schedule the band's stops over the 100-day tour, visiting as many U.S. states as possible, and of course, in the European expansion, to visit as many European countries as possible. Right now, basically, at the end of the game, when all the states are filled, the game ends. Beginning in any state, you need to draw a continuous route for your tour. So that is the objective of the game. So how does this work? Well, I will show you right now. For this game of On Tour, in front of me, I'm going to have 3 cards that represent 3 locations on the map. And let's just pretend that I've already drawn some of the numbers or written out some of the numbers here on the board. So this is a map of the United States. As you can see, it is divided into different regions. So on the map there, I rolled 2 dice randomly. So let's pretend that the numbers that I rolled were a 6 and a 4. Well, the idea is that you want to have a continuous route on your map utilizing the cards that you have in front of you. So I could organize this as either 46 or 64. And so what I want to do is to try to avoid making it so that I don't, you want to be able to have a straight line that connects through all the numbers that you write on the board in numerical order. Now, as mentioned at the beginning, the idea is to try to connect to as many states as possible in numerical order. Whoever has the longest continuous route would be the winner. So in this case, I could either put 46 or 64 in the South, and that being Tennessee. I could either put 46 or 64 in the mid-coastal area, so MC, which represents the smaller states in the Northeast, or I could place a 64 or a 46 in Wyoming in the West. So to make this kind of interesting, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to place, I'm going to put a 64 in the mid-coastal area. So in doing so, my board has now changed to this. I've put the 64 where the MC would have been. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, get rid of the card that I had and draw a new card. And now that I've drawn my new card, this would be the hand that I've been dealt. And, you just continue rolling and writing on the board until you no longer have any valid moves. Whoever has the longest continuous route on the board is the winner. And we're going to pretend that this is a partially filled board of numbers that I have collected over time. Obviously, this is not the reality of how the game would be, but as you can see, I have a connecting route in chronological order that goes 43, 49, 52, 53, 55, 58, and 64, right? You can see that the 21 kind of blocks off the route, and the 70 blocks off a different route in that top area. So the idea is, like I said, the longest continuous route in a 100-day trip to get through either the United States or the world, right? Not the world, but Europe. And so this map right here is the European expansion, and the game pretty much works the same. The only difference is it is a differing map. And as you can see, there's different symbols related to music, a saxophone, and things like that that are on this map that represent the music industry. So that is how you play on tour. All right, so there you have it. 3 music-themed board games from my collection. I figured I'd show them and kind of guide you on how to play them. And if they're of interest to you, then I will leave a link to the Board Game Geek website in my description, as well as there's lots of board game stores online. But before I go, there are some other games that I don't have in my collection that are music related that I think some people might be interested in. So I will show you their pictures just up here over my shoulder. The first of these games is called Lacrimosa. It is a highly rated game on, trying to recreate the works of Wolfgang Mozart back in the 1800s. There is a board game called Hitster. Hitster is just a play on the word hipster, in which you are just trying to organize hit songs by their release date. Kind of consider it like a timeline game, or a historical timeline game, but in relation to music. Then there is the board game Rock Hard 1977, and it was created by Jackie Fox, former bassist from the Runaways. And in that game, you are basically playing gigs, and you are trying to get a record label deal and be the baddest band of 1977. There is Draft and Write Records, in which you are drafting different cards and trying to outperform your competition by using bands throughout the game on a global scale. And then one final game is called Come Together, and of course that is a famous Beatles song. But what you are trying to do in Come Together is to organize the baddest, most epic rock festival of the 1960s. Consider it the Woodstock board game in the industry. So there you have it, multiple board games. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you've got this far, let me know in the comment section below. Do you enjoy board games? Would you like to play some of these board games that I have shown in the video? And if so, what are your overall thoughts? If you are new to my channel, please leave a thumbs up and leave some comments down in the section below. Do subscribe to my channel if you enjoy what I have to offer. And of course, as always, if you're a returning viewer to my channel, I appreciate your support. And yeah, so that's all I got. In future videos, what I'd like to try to do is to take other board games that I have in my collection and kind of pair them with records that I have from my collection. So for example, I have a board game called Ticket to Ride, and it'd be kind of cool to just kind of compare Ticket to Ride and pair it with the Beatles song Ticket to Ride, or an album, or other train-themed song, as Ticket to Ride is a board game in which you are creating train routes on a map. So yeah, that is my idea going forward, is to just take my board games and partner them with other records that I have, and let me know what you think. So until next time, take care everyone and stay safe. We will see you on the flip side.